Welcome back to the blacksmith shop here at Landmark Park. I'm Brent Clark. Today we're going to make a fire steel. I'm going to show you some things about that, talk about what steel we use to make it, how it needs to be quenched in order to make it effective. And what this is, in case you don't know, is how people lit fires for a very long time. Flint and steel, using chert and steel, makes nice sparks. And you take these and you light a piece of char cloth. I'll explain what that is. Actually, I did in my last video, so I'll just leave that alone. And real quick, I'll show you how it works. So you'll take your piece of char cloth here, which I made in the last video if you want to check it out. Here's one little Altoids tin I made it in. And get one from the center to make sure it's nice and dry. Put that down. Now once we get this smoldering, I'm going to put it in this little bird's nest of material I found here. I think it's old hay or something like that. I don't think it's sufficiently dry to get a flame. We'll get a flame, drop it on the ground, and be done with it. So, as before, put your char cloth here on your, I'm going to try to do this up high. Alright. Got a coal there, as you can see. Put that right into our bird's nest here. There's your flame. That's how you lit it, and then you just put your little sticks on top and things like that and keep it going. Alright, so now let's make one. So the first thing we want to do is we want to get the right kind of steel. Now mild steel will not work. You need a high carbon steel, and this, maybe you can see right there, I wrote it on there so I wouldn't get it confused with anything else. It's 1095, which is a very high carbon steel. Throw a lot of sparks if it's quenched properly. So this is the piece we're going to make it out of. So I'm going to reset the camera in a different spot and we'll get this thing heated up and start drawing it out. I'm just going to start working it over the horn here once I have a good grip on it. Try to taper out this end. Working with these high carbon steels like this, you really don't want to work them too cold. You want to make sure you have pretty much an orange heat the whole time, otherwise you're stressing the metal. Continue to work that down, pick that guy up. Get that back in the forge. Like I was saying, you really want to work that hot, hot, hot. You don't want to let it cool down. It'll stress that metal, and any stresses in it will show up when you quench it. And you'll hear that tink, and then that's the end of it, and you got to make another piece. You waste a lot of time and some material. So always strike while the iron's hot, especially so whenever it's high carbon steel. Wish I brought better tongs with me today. That's what I was expecting to do. These tongs don't hold it very well. We're just going to have to work through it. A little bit more length than that. It's not quite enough, or a little bit more isolated out, so I'm going to bring it back to the horn and bring some more out. It's a beautiful day out here today, Landmark Park. Not quite so hot, a little breeze, a little overcast. Quite a few people out walking around, enjoying the day. I think I may even take a little stroll when I get done with this particular project. Now, you asked the question, how much steel does it take to make one? Like, how long should it be? How thick? This that I'm working with right now is 1/4 inch thick, and the length I have no idea. It was just a piece that I had left laying over from something else I was making. And I usually just work the rat tail out, and then I'll cut off what I don't need and rasp it down until it looks nice. All right, so we got it nice and hot again, so we can get it out of there. You've also got to be careful to not get it too hot, because it will burn. That might just end up being a little bit of a larger one, because the older ones were a little larger than what I typically make, and they just work it from there. Back in there. We've got some customers coming up. I'm going to stop the video. I'm going to continue to work that rat tail out. Once I get it out and taper it, I'll turn it back on and show you how I curl it over and work from there. But at this point, it's just basically tapering that out until it's an even taper all the way down to the end of from what I just isolated. All right, so now you can see we've got a decent taper on there. It's longer than this part is, the taper is, because we're going to put a curl in it and then bring it back over to make the handle. So that's what we're going to do right now. And then we'll get into normalizing the steel and quenching the steel, and then I'll light another little fire with this actual steel. So get it hot and make us a little curl. Hear the roar of the fire. I want to get this pretty hot, almost yellow, so that curl will be easy to make. I really only want the tip yellow. I don't want the whole handle yellow, because I want that bend to bend the way I want it to. You see what I mean? Alright, so I'm going to take it over the sharp edge here. I'm going to bend it downward and curl it back towards me. Just make a nice little curl over, keeping everything flat. So we just made a little curl there. See that? Maybe. Right, now I'm going to heat up the rest of the handle, and we're going to bend it over to make the handle itself. The way I'm going to bend this is I'm going to put it right down into the hardy hole to get the first most abrupt bend right at where the handle starts, and then I'll ease it over with my hammer on the face of the anvil. Should be getting pretty close. Almost there. Alright, so I'm going to grab it here and we'll stick it right down into my hardy hole. Let's give her a heck of a bend there. I'm going to have to assist. That's going to take another heat. We've got it going. Flatten that out a little. Let's see how we're going to affect that. Just grab it right there and do a little more. Alright, we've got it that far. I'm going to take another heat and bring it on around. Really yellow in that elbow there, that crook we just made, because I want it to bend really easily there. Stay kind of straight towards the curl that we've already made. Alright, we're going to just bend this guy on around. Get right in there. Do a little adjustment here in a minute. We're going to go ahead and bring that around some. As far as I want to bring that, because I want that to really be more down. We're going to switch it up, switch up the way I'm holding it. Take one more heat at least to bring this down. Take one more heat and bring this down some, because I want that to be more abrupt right here. I could also do this in the vise, but I don't really want to set up the camera, so we're just going to go with what we got. If I had better tongs to hold it with, excuses, but if I had better tongs to do it with, I could have done that in one heat. There are some better tongs here, and I'm going to use them. Alright, found some better tongs. Grab that here, bring her on down. Smoothing everything out now. There she is for all intents and purposes. I think I want that a little deeper. I think I want to smash that down a little bit more. That's where she's at right now. And that's pretty much it. That's useful. But now it's just a matter of getting it to look the way you want. I kind of want to bring this in a little bit, not have quite that much handle space. Maybe bring this closer to, maybe bring the loop closer to the striking surface. Right now, this part's just aesthetics, which is a big part of blacksmithing, because that's what we are. Aestheticians, artists, we make things look as well as we can. One specific spot. One day I'll do one on fire and heat management and show you what I'm doing over here. What I'm doing right now is really just trying to heat the one spot. So you have to move things around, including your coal bed and position of your steel, get it exactly where you want it hot. we're just going to bring this down a little bit more right here. Like that. And I'm going to bring this on down. Don't necessarily want it touching because I want people to be able to hang it over things. That's about it right there. Where's my brush? This is a very basic design. Like I said, this is called a rat tail. This was used around the fur trade era, mountain men, on into the Civil War before and after. There she is. Let me put it straight. There's what it looks like. So at this point, what we're going to do is get it to a point where it is non-magnetic. Now, when you heat steel, if you get it to a certain point, it's no longer magnetic. And that's what we're looking for. I don't have a magnet, and I don't really usually test mine in that way. What I look for is color. And as long as you get it past a cherry red, you've pretty much gotten past the non-magnetic state. I like to get mine up to an orange, and then you want to let the whole thing cool down slowly. So I'll get it up to an orange in the forge here. Then I'll just stop the air and let it cool down for a while slowly, and then take it out and let it cool down completely till it's black. And I'll end up doing that 3 times when I'm doing a fire steel, because anytime you're quenching this high carbon steel, you want to allow that to normalize 3 times if you're quenching it in water for sure. And what we're doing by letting it normalize is, on a molecular level, it's letting all of those little iron molecules and all of those carbon molecules redistribute in there. They've gotten all whacked around, and the structure's all messed up from me beating on it, you know, so from the stress of the hammer. So by heating it up to this point, it allows those things, it gives them space in between, because everything expands as it heats. It gives those molecules space to expand and, like I said, normalize into the structure they would be in typically as an alloy. So I'm just going to get this up and hot and let it cool down. I'll show you how hot I like to get it. And then I'll cut this off, and like I said, I'll do that 3 times, and I'll show you the quenching and how I quench it. You want to make sure all parts are normalized so there's no place for stress fractures. This little forge needs some repairs. It's got some holes down on the bottom of it. I don't know if you can see that at this point or not. It's about where I want it to be. I'm going to pull it out and let you see it against the black background so you can see what we're looking for there. Really need some repairs on this little forge. Hopefully we can talk somebody into doing that this year. All right, so here's what I'm looking for on that. The color about like that. You want it to be pretty uniform. So I'm just going to sit it right back on top of here and just let that cool down for about, I'll let it sit there for about 5 minutes, and then I'll take it off and let it cool down completely to black. But you can see it's already cooling right there. Nice and slow cool. That lets everything normalize in there. We'll normalize it 3 times and we'll be right back. All right, so now after our 3 normalizing cycles, we're going to quench just the face. We want it to cool down really quickly, so we're going to try to get just the face of this thing hot, just the striking edge, and then quench it down. I'm also going to try to do this one-handed because I'm out here by myself and trying to film. I'm going to jump back and forth between things that typically take 2 hands, or typically use 2 hands for. So we're going to get this up to a point where it's non-magnetic. We want to get it just past cherry red this time, because like I said, we want it to cool down quickly, so we don't want it overly hot. Trying to get that face just past cherry red so for a good spark. So what happens is when you quench it, like I was saying about all those molecules loosening up and finding their spots and finding their places, well, once they're expanded like that and hot and you quench them quickly, they knot up, they tighten up like that. So it makes them very brittle and easy to break and come apart, which is why we only want the face like that and not the entire steel. Because if the entire steel's like that, then if you drop it, it could break. But if just the face is hardened like that, then it will throw really good sparks. Give her a look, see how she looks. That's it right there. All right, so I'm gonna grab this and we're gonna go right into the water here. You just want the face. I'm gonna squish back and forth. back and forth. And the reason I'm moving it back and forth like that is to keep fresh, cool water on it and keep it from getting air bubbles around it. And then once everything's all nice and black, I'll quench the rest of the steel. First, just the face until we get to a black piece. Okay, now at this point, I'm going to dunk it. And she's cooled off. We're going to let her stand there for just a second, make sure she's completely cool, because I don't want any of that to be tempered. I want it to be exactly like I intend it to be. It's cooling off out here now. I think we're about to get a little bit of rain. That'll be welcome today. It is rather warm in this smithy. All right, so I'm going to take this over here. Pop that down. It's nice and cool all over. Dry it off. Sometimes I've also noticed that it takes about 5 minutes before they throw really good sparks. I don't know what that's about, but I guess something's still going on in that steel even after it's cold. But we're going to give it a shot and see if it's throwing sparks. Get that cleaned off. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna turn this off and switch it around so that I can set the camera down. And I'll show you sparks. All right, so here she is, freshly made. See, first time striking. Let's see if we can get some sparks. Oh yeah, she's throwing good sparks. All right, let's see if we can. Give me just a second. I'm gonna gather some more of this dry material around here and see if we can't get us a little flame going. Not sure what this stuff is. I think it's like hay, maybe wood shavings or something, but scattered all over the shop here. And I've used it a couple times to light the fire out here actually. See some nice little bird's nest there. I'm just going to set our bird's nest right here for a minute. There's a hole in there. Good. This piece of charcoal. Alright, we're going to put our char cloth again right on top of our chert or flint or whatever hard stone you're using. See how many strikes it takes us to get a light here. That's 15. That wasn't good. You can find a better spot on. A lot of times you have to find a sharper spot on your rock to get really good sparks and shavings. Doing good sparks. There we go. All right, now we got a coal. Let's get this coal into our bird's nest here. So put it right down in there. Tuck it around it. There's your flamage. All right. So she definitely works. And really good sparks. Like I said, when you use really high carbon steel like that, you can use things as low as 1045 maybe, but you just don't get those really good sparks unless it's a 1095, 1084 steel. Some old files you can use to make it out of, but I would definitely harden them and everything and try it out first before you waste your time on it, because a lot of them are just case hardened. But if you start with good steel, you end up with good steel. Thank y'all for hanging out, and come see us at the blacksmith shop. It's always a good time out here. Come check out the park. It's a beautiful day out here. It's a little rainy right now. Look at all that history out there. This is the way it used to be, guys and gals. The way it still is at Landmark. So come see us. Fun days. Thanks for stopping by.